Hi guys, I'm Jalen Davis and I'm a second year occupational therapy student at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center. So welcome to my in-service presentation, and today we're going to be discussing how to stay calm in the midst of a crisis. So I'm sure you guys have the note-taking guide. Underneath the learning objectives, there's going to be a link to a website. Their website is going to direct you to a quiz, and that quiz is just going to be asking you certain questions, and from those questions, it's going to tell you what type of a leader you would actually be in the midst of a crisis. So I want you to go ahead and go do that. And when you return, we will actually proceed with today's session. So I assume that you guys are back and you've taken the quiz. So I was very excited to actually sign up for this topic because I feel as if this is very important. I feel as if we all, especially us being future OTs, we definitely need to know how to conduct ourselves in the midst of a crisis. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I want to give you guys a few of the learning objectives that we're going to discuss. In today's in-service, learners will identify the steps to staying cool during a crisis. Learners will also discuss how staying calm during a crisis relates to internal locus of control. And learners will discuss how staying calm during a crisis relates to occupational therapy. So we can go ahead and now get started. So on the top of your note-taking guide, I know there's going to be a space for you to actually write down some qualities you feel as if a person should have when they're in the midst of a crisis. So go ahead and take some time to write down some characteristics you feel as if a person should have in the midst of a crisis. I know for me, I feel as if a person should be able to be level-minded, very quiet so they can hear. And also, I really would like someone to be like a problem solver. So those are just a few of my characteristics as an example. I will give you guys a few minutes to write some characteristics down, and then we will go ahead with the rest of today's session. Okay. Well, I hope you guys have been able to write down some characteristics. If not, please feel free to pause the video and write down however many things that you would like, and then resume it whenever you're ready. So a little bit of background information. So as we know, there's a part of our brain called the amygdala, and that's going to be where we house our fear symptoms. So we're all adults. We've all been through some type of crisis where we've had the fast heartbeat and the sweaty palms and the sweaty forehead, and this is all due to the amygdala. And the amygdala is also going to be known as our fear center. And if you really don't know how to conduct yourself in the midst of a crisis, it's really going to be our nature, our instinct to react in a fearful manner. So now we're going to talk about some steps that one should take when they're in the midst of a crisis. So the first step in remaining calm during a crisis is to smile. So I know you're probably thinking, Jalen, why would I smile in the midst of a crisis? I am freaking out. I am scared. Why would I smile? Well, smiling is going to do two things for you. One is going to let your peers know that you're okay. And you always want to exude confidence in the midst of a crisis or in the midst of a storm. You never want your clients or people around you to know that you are, in a sense, shook or that you're not very confident in yourself. So you always want to exude confidence. So that's one reason you should smile. A second reason you should smile is because it actually tells the brain that you're okay. So those symptoms that you're experiencing with the sweaty palms and the fast heartbeat, once you start to smile, it's going to let your brain know, like, hey, maybe I'm reacting, overreacting to this situation. You're actually going to calm down. And it's going to allow you to have a slower heart rate. The sweaty palms are going to go away. And so that's why smiling is going to be a great step that you should do when you're in the midst of a crisis. The second thing you should do is do positive affirmations. And positive affirmations, that's going to allow you to actually take a step back from the situation and to take in some breathing. So it's going to allow you to inhale that positive vibe and then exhale those negative thoughts. Positive affirmations, they're also going to allow you to speak over yourself. And we know that the most important and strongest kind of muscle in our body is going to be the brain. So once you're starting to tell yourself that you're okay and that you can handle this and that you can do this, you're actually going to exude that in your work. The next step that you want to do is gather all the facts. And this is something that I kind of struggle with because I tend to stress out in the midst of a sentence and I don't really finish it. So what you want to do in this step is make sure you have all the information. Make sure you've gathered all the facts. Make sure you've Ask all the questions that you need to, because that outcome could actually be better than what you actually think it is. So make sure you got all the facts and just wait till the end. And then another step is to act promptly but not hastily. So this is where the people who tend to take a nap in the midst of a crisis, and then when they kind of, come back together, they're kind of making hasty decisions. You want to make sure that you act promptly, but you're not too hasty with it. That you gather all the facts, like I just stated, and that you're having a good, solid solution, but you're not being very hasty in your solution. And then lastly, you want to ask for help. And so this can be for something in the healthcare world or in your professional world, or also in just your everyday lifestyle. As of right now, of course, we are in the midst of a crisis. We are dealing with COVID-19. And so a lot of people's their mental health is taking a toll on them. And you want to make sure that you can go out and ask for help. Even if you're just talking to friends or venting, you want to make sure that you are getting some help for your mental state, because that is something that's very important. So always ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be ashamed to ask for help. If you need other people's perspectives, go ahead and do that. So you may be feeling like, Jalen, these are not my personality traits. I don't know if I can act this way in the midst of a crisis. And this kind of goes to what we talked about a few weeks ago when we were discussing internal locus of control and external locus of control. And so we know from the worksheet that Dr. Lancaster gave us, internal locus of control is when you're more apt to kind of take responsibility for your own actions. You're going to be able to, as you see in the picture, he's looking at himself. He's pointing at himself. I'm in control of my own destiny. I'm in control of my successes and my failures. And so that's going to be what the person who has an internal locus of control, that's going to be their viewpoint. And then when you have an external locus of control type of personality, as you see in the picture, you're shifting blame on others or other things. You're more of the type to say it's those external environmental factors that really are conveying what type of person I am, or my successes, or my failures. And so these are going to be the two different types of locus of control. And as you can see, having an internal locus of control is going to be way better than having an external locus of control when you're in the midst of a crisis. So we did take a quiz on this a few weeks ago, and I don't know where you guys kind of landed on the scoreboard, but if you were closer to external locus of control, it's okay, because there are simple steps that you can do in order to have a more internal locus of control personality when you're in the midst of a crisis. So the first thing you can do is have positive affirmation. So we kind of talked about that previously, making sure you're speaking over yourself, giving yourself positive words, encouraging yourself, because again, that brain is going to be the most important muscle. It's telling the body what to do. So once you're speaking over yourself, you're calming yourself down. Then another step that you can do is shift your focus. So focus on the things that you can actually have control over. Focus on the things that's going good. Focus on the things that's going well, that you're actually doing really well in. And that's also going to help you be able to have that more internal locus of control personality. And then the third thing you can do is model the way. And that's kind of like the fake it till you make it. So you may not feel like being an internal locus of control person. You may not feel like, not really shifting blame. You want to actually blame it on other people. You want to point the finger at others, but you're gonna fake it till you make it. You're gonna model the way. And these three ways, they actually kind of coincide with what we just talked about with the steps of being able to be calm in the midst of a crisis. Those positive affirmations, you see that also previously in your note-taking guide. Shifting your focus, basically kind of trying to remain focused on the things that you can actually do and the things that's going well. And then modeling the way, faking it till you make it. That kind of coincides with the smiling. You may not feel like smiling at that time. You may want to cry or maybe even curse someone out. But at that time, you're going to smile and you're going to trick that brain into thinking that you're okay. And that's kind of what modeling the way is as well. So now I want you to think of some affirmations that you would give yourself in the midst of a crisis. So I know for me, I take more of a spiritual aspect. I'm more of a scripture person. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. He will never leave me nor forsake me. So I want to give you a few minutes to kind of write down some affirmations that you would give yourself in the midst of a crisis, or things you would say to yourself in order to calm yourself down. And we will reconvene in about 2 minutes, and then we can go ahead and conclude with today's session. So I hope you guys have been able to write down some affirmations. If not, again, please feel free to pause the video and then play it again whenever you're ready. So lastly, we're going to talk about how this relates to occupational therapy. So we as future OTs, we're going to encounter various situations in our everyday life. It may be a day where we have one crisis, or we may have plenty of situations that's going to cause us to have some type of discomfort. And so we really want to make sure we know how to, kind of act in the midst of a crisis. We want to make sure that we are smiling and that we are exuding confidence because we have other people depending on us. And that kind of goes into, being dependable. Not only are we having clients depend on us, but we're also in the midst of a group. We have PTs and SLPs and nurses that we may be working with, teachers that are also depending on us to make sure that we document our writing. And we want to make sure that what we document is actually correct and we're not feeling overwhelmed just because we're in the midst of a crisis and we're not actually documenting what we're supposed to. And then lastly, we're deemed as leaders. We are going to be leaders in our professions. There are not a lot of people out there that do what we do. And so we want to make sure that in our leadership position that we're always exuding confidence, that we're always, looking as if we're not overwhelmed and we can handle all situations that are thrown our way. So this concludes today's session. There's also going to be a knowledge check, and that's at the end of your note-taking guide as well. You can go ahead and do that whenever you feel free. And I tried to give you guys some scenery in the back because it was supposed to be calming. But if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. And I'm glad I got to kind of see you guys and talk to you guys today. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.